So I am logging in with my phone and my computer.
Okay.
So I'm going to do audio on the phone and video on the computer just so I can see stuff better.
Okay. And I've made all of you co-hosts, but don't let anybody in just yet.
Okay.
I'm desperately creating a PowerPoint.
Okay.
Actually, I guess that's the thing. Let anybody in and then make small talk.
I've moved inside because Ronnie's voice sounds like they're in the same room as me, so it'll probably cause a lot of feedback. So I've come inside and closed the door in case you're wondering why I'm sitting in a dark room.
Oh, okay.
It is surprising how well sound travels from down to up. I'm just going to check also.
Yeah.
All right. And oh, we have our first guest. All right. Does somebody want to let people in and make small talks while I finish the PowerPoint?
Ah. Hello. Hi, Vera.
Hello, everyone.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
You too. Is that Ronnie? Oh, Ronnie's got two accounts going on at once.
I am a split personality today. No, yeah. My laptop is a little bit struggly, so it's easier to have the audio on a different device. So
I understand.
yeah.
Hmm.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm looking for permaculture internships.
Oh, nice.
It feels very aligned. I'm curious to know
Nice.
what you guys have been up to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're in the right place. We are just finishing getting ready.
And we are expecting one more person who signed up as well.
I think actually a couple of people.
Oh, yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah, there's another new person.
I would.
Yeah. Let's see.
What kind of shed are you in, Vera?
It's a woofer kitchen shed. We have the fridge. Yeah, there used to be a loft, but we took it down. So now the stairs are being used as pantry storage. And then we got oven and it's pretty decent.
So it's not an all season space though, is it?
Well, it doesn't rain on you in here. So
That counts as
what do you
all
really
season.
need? It's an outdoor kitchen. That's actually rather indoors. There's another section that's more outdoors. So this part is the very outdoors kitchen.
Oh,
Got
cool.
a little bit of a roof structure. We've got a sink. I don't know if you can see. Sink. Actually, 2 sinks. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about doing something like that at High Grove. There was a shed there that we could have used for it.
Yeah, sheds are great.
Yep.
Multi-purpose. My friend was here. He was like, "You could live in this." I was like, "Yeah, I could." Yes.
For a while.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're 5 minutes after, so it may be that our other guests are not going to arrive. I've checked. I'll just double check. I don't see any help. I can't get in messages. So I am going to say, let's get, actually, let me double check here. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anybody who is desperately trying to get in right now, and we are recording the session so that we can share out what we're covering. So people who aren't here now we can catch them up. And just oops. All right. So just to get us started, I'm going to, or to provide a little bit of sort of structure to what we're doing here. I've set up a really, really quick PowerPoint just to make sure that we cover some of the main points. This is the first session that we've done like this. We recognize the need that there's so much going on, there's so much happening that we need a more effective way of providing updates. So we thought, what better way to do it than to just have a sort of a standing time when people can drop in, ask questions, and we can give sort of a quick update. Our goal is to keep the update part on our side to about 15 minutes. So really just kind of covering the highlights. And then providing more time. It's not what I wanted. Providing more time for questions and answers for what people really want to talk about. I don't know why I can't find. I want to share the screen with the PowerPoint and it's not showing up as one of my options. I'm just going to do it this way. All right, can everyone see the PowerPoint? Awesome. So welcome to the update session, and we have somebody arriving. Perfect timing. Okay. Just wait for welcome, Robert. Thanks for joining us today. We were just getting into things. We're just getting started, and as is our habit around here, we start usually with a land acknowledgement. And so I will start by saying we start with the land acknowledgement because the land was here before we were, and the land will be here after we are gone. And so we by acknowledging the land, we are in fact acknowledging our place in all of our relations, and a reminder that we are all connected, human to human and human to all of our non-human relations. And we are also grounded here where we are sat, even though we're coming together virtually. So by acknowledging the land, we are acknowledging our connections and our interconnections. And by doing so, we are also acknowledging the wisdom traditions that have been held by indigenous cultures around the world for a very long time, who have held this knowledge at great cost to themselves personally and culturally, as this way of seeing, this way of knowing has been under attack for quite a long time. So by acknowledging the land, we also acknowledge our debt of gratitude and our obligation to First Nations people and the cultures that they represent, and our responsibility in righting the relationships which may have been harmed over the years. And so with that, I would like to also create an opportunity for each of us to introduce ourselves. And we generally work in circle process. And so while we are introducing ourselves, I will be typing in the circle just in case we need to come back to it. And I'm going to, the way I see it on my screen is Roland, Jennifer, Ronnie, Robert, and Vera. I think that's everybody. And so I'll pass it over to Roland, and you can introduce yourself and just say a little bit about where you're coming from.
I am currently on the Spalding Valley Farm property. I'm a longstanding member of the collective, the group, and even before it was called the Lifeboat Academy. Yeah, I think that's all I have in terms of introduction. So I pass it over to, I've already forgotten, is it Ronnie?
Yep.
Ron.
Hi, I'm Ronnie. I use they, them pronouns. I'm speaking into audio on a different device from the video for reasons. So sorry if that's confusing. I'm a farmer caretaker here at the Lifeboat Academy. I've been part of the team group for almost a year. And we, including the Spalding Valley Farm, are located on Sudeas, or so-called Pender Island, which is part of unceded Wasanich territory. And I will pass to Jennifer.
Right. Hello and welcome, Robert and Vera. So wonderful to have you here for this update, and we can't wait to get to the questions that you have about the Academy. I've been with the Lifeboat Academy just 2 weeks. I'm a new intern here and very excited and eager to learn everything, and focus mostly on the community outreach and tending to the animals and the gardens and the land here. Back to you, Ben.
Oh, actually over to Robert.
Hello, and hello. So I'm Robert Corman. I met Ben, I guess, almost 9 or 10 years ago. I don't know if you remember me, but it was because of your name and the familiarity that I actually opened your email. And I had numerous reactions within many parts of myself to what it spoke. I am here in Morris County, New Jersey, around 30 miles west of Manhattan. And I am deeply involved in some global activities, mostly related to pushing back against industrial agriculture, and under the mission of food sovereignty for people who are seriously threatened or constantly dealing with the demise of their culture as a result of industrial agriculture. And there's more to be said, but that's what I'll say at the moment. And I'm glad to be here and see where this takes us.
Thank you very much. Awesome. I do remember you, and also it just turns out I have one of my best friends from high school is probably just down the road from you. So anyhow, over to you, Vera.
Hi, everyone. I'm calling in from Salt Spring, BC. I'm ceded territories of the Hul'qumi'num speaking peoples. And I'm really passionate about soil regeneration, soil biology. That's something I'm focusing on right now. And I'm looking forward to getting involved in some permaculture projects this year and gaining more skills on the land.
Fantastic. And Vera also came in and joined.
I've been a guest at the Lifeboat.
Yeah.
I visited them Pender.
Yeah. And I'm noticing that Ardell has joined us. And Ardell, we were just doing a circle of introductions. So I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you'd like to say hi, you are more than welcome. And if you don't want to, just give us a sign and we'll move on.
Sorry, just had to unmute myself. Yeah, pardon me for being late here. I wanted to show up at this meeting because I've long been interested in these topics, and in fact, I'm over the past couple of years, I've moved increasingly away from my my former business of just kind of academic editing. Just trying to detach myself from the dying game, and just I developed a website that is to help intentional communities to not only gain new members, but primarily to assist in groups that want to form new intentional communities. And like, I not only want to promote it, but also to learn from you all who are kind of in the same project, in the same space. And I just want to mention upfront, because I think it's really important to say, it's on the freemium model, and the majority of it is completely free, because, you know, I think it's kind of awful when people want to make money off of the, you know, the difficulties of other people, right? So that's my project. icmatch.org.
Fantastic. Yes, our intention is to do our updates quickly in 15 minutes and provide most of the time for questions and conversation. And I say that out loud because I recognize that it's going to be a challenge for me, because I'm going to want to go off on tangents, because there's so much that we could be talking about. So I just want to say for background that actually, I'll do true confession. We kind of whipped up a PowerPoint based on another PowerPoint, just so we would have something to use for this session. So it's incomplete. And right now I would like to have a slide that sort of says, welcome to the Lifeboat Academy, and this is what we're about. But I can say we are responding to the interconnected crises that we face: climate change, biodiversity loss, social collapse, the increasing rise of right-wing fascist movements. We're trying to figure out, how do we respond practically in a way that our goal is to build a fleet of lifeboats, and we define a lifeboat as a local, place-based personal resilience network. And our goal is to, just like you, Ardell, it's how do we support people in building their own lifeboat, and how do we keep the lifeboats connected? And how do we do all of that in the midst of pretty turbulent social disruption, where we can be focused on the practical issues of food, water, shelter, energy, but also be addressing the human concerns of connection, belonging, and healing from trauma, and healing from the traumas that we all have experienced to some degree, and that we are all figuring out how to undo. And we use as a framework sociocracy. But I am not committed to sociocracy trademark. It really is, how do we come together in the spirit of peer-to-peer collaboration, where everyone's needs are met, and to the best of our ability. And one of our working mottos is, how do we weave together our strengths in such a way that our weaknesses become irrelevant? So at a high level, that's what the project's all about. And like I said, we want to have a lot of time for questions and answers, so we can talk about any of those details. Right now, our major focus is we are currently located on a property on Cedillas/Pender Island, 47 acres, with a home and a studio space, and half of it forest that we are thinking could be very useful for silvopasture and agroforestry, and half of it being open arable land that would be perfect for small grain fields and market garden type activity. And right now we are racing to be able to purchase the property. So we're trying to raise $2.5 million by our closing date, which is November 30th. And we have an August 31st deadline where we have to say go, no go. Do we think that we can meet the November 30th deadline? So that's really been our focus, but we made a decision a long time ago that we want to walk the talk and do things the right way, go slow to go fast. So we've been on this property. We've known about this property since December of last year. We've been on the property with a sort of short-term lease to purchase agreement since February. And we've been busy. Even though right now, if you were looking at our fundraising thermometer, we're not that far up on the fundraising thermometer, slightly below halfway, I think. But we've spent most of our time figuring out how do we take a relational approach to what we're doing. So we've been spending a lot of time figuring out how we manage our relationships so that we can do that technically effectively. We spent a lot of time on that. And we've also spent a lot of time testing and refining our messaging by interacting with our people. So we've been doing a lot of one-on-one meetings and small group meetings and sort of testing out the ideas and refining them as we go. Where we are right now is we just launched our big push to start the fundraising ball rolling. We have an email campaign that you probably are aware of because you're here, and that was the start. And we have a number of email pulses that are designed to introduce people to more of the different aspects of the project, and also to invite them to take part in those different aspects. There are lots of roles for people to play, and so over what we want to do is kind of a slow and steady drip, where we are specific about the kinds of things that we're asking people to do to help. And we also we're going to be reaching out to some of the people. We have a lot of people who have made soft commitments to financing the project, to actually investing in the project. And we're also doing sort of a personal outreach to them to firm up those commitments. And we've introduced this regular live update, so that which we are recording and we'll post to our YouTube channel. And we're really thinking of it as an opportunity to get people's questions. If you know Catherine Hayhoe, she's a Canadian climate advocate. She does a lot of educational events around it. And her whole style is about you figure out what questions people have, and then you answer those questions. So we're taking a page out of her book, and all of the questions that you have are really valuable to us because we know you represent a lot of other people who have similar questions. So that's it for the outreach and kind of the high level plan. And I'm going to pause and turn to my team, and Ronnie, Roland, or Jen, do you have anything you want to add? Roland.
I wanted to express my gratefulness for everyone who's here. Any questions that you have are very welcome. It actually is a way in which you are participating in helping us in the project. The questions that you have illuminate the things that people want to know and help us to work on to help us to be able to assess where we are. So you're welcome. Your questions are definitely welcome.
And Ronnie or Jen, anything to add? Ardell.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Have you approached, well, investigated any of the financial resources from Van City, particularly grants? Because they have a lot that relate to the environmental sustainable and you know, the SDG goals, as well as affordable housing.
We haven't approached them directly, and that's part of our relational approach. Is we're trying to figure out who do we know who has those connections, and that's part of our outreach, is to ask then for kind of introductions. We've been shying because we're on a really tight timeline. We have been de-emphasizing institutions because they generally have, you know, very fixed schedules about when and how long it takes to apply. But that's yeah. So I would say it's in the mix, and we're hoping to kind of push on that a little bit. But right now we haven't done anything formally with those connections yet.
Okay. Well, they have a I need to go back and look, but they have 2 funding cycles, and we're right in one right now, and the other I think is like end of August. So there might be a good fit there.
Okay, cool. We'll definitely check that out. Okay, I've got a note. So the next thing that we want to update people on is work that we've been doing with a project called Regenerate Cascadia. This is something that we sort of have stumbled into. We are working, the Regenerate Cascadia project is a joint collaboration between Earth Regenerators, which is a global organization founded by Joe Brewer, who is based out of Colombia now, Biochara, Colombia. And his focus has been on creating regenerative communities at the bioregional level, thinking that bioregional level is sort of the most optimal scale at which we can be acting to accelerate change. And Joe has been promoting something recently now, a recent addition to the Earth Regenerators approach are bioregional learning centers. And we have been working on the Lifeboat Academy for quite a while, not knowing about bioregional learning centers, but it turns out we are a bioregional learning center in Joe's model. And so Earth Regenerators is collaborating with Cascadia Department of the Bioregion, which is kind of an offshoot of Cascadia now, which is, I can't take any credit for it, but I would say Cascadia is probably one of the more advanced bioregions on the planet in terms of organization, education, and recruitment. And so those 2 organizations are working together to bring the unfortunately named Bioregional Learning Center Activation Tour to Cascadia. It's going to happen in October, and basically there will be local community events happening at something like 25 different communities around Cascadia during the month of October. We are going to be one of those locations. All of those are to increase awareness about bioregionalism and how bioregional learning centers might fit into that. And we are now part of the scaffolding group that is working on the details about how that project will unfold. And based on recent conversations that we've had on both sides with Earth Regenerators and with Cascadia, a lot of the tools that we are trying to promote will be useful in the project. So we're going to be, I think, in the happy position of being able to provide direct support to the project in a way where we're demonstrating the tools that we're promoting. And the tools that we're promoting are fundamentally about the human regeneration, not necessarily soil regeneration. How do people come together effectively to weave together their strengths in such a way that the weaknesses become irrelevant? So we're very process oriented around the human process side of things, and we're going to have an opportunity to be able to demonstrate that. So we're really excited about the possibilities, and the timing seems really ideal. So actually, before I turn to you, Ardell, I just want to make sure that Roland and Ronnie and Jen, if you have anything that you want to add for the update.
I think you're covering it really well, Ben.
All right, cool. Okay, over to you, Ardell.
I wanted to find out what does permitting look like on Pender Island? Like if you have a certain number of households or just for land development, how have you? I've got a friend who's trying to do land development on Vancouver Island, and it's been 2 years and he's gotten nowhere, and he knows how to do this. He's done it many times before.
So we are zoned agriculture, and we're on South Pender, which is our local trust of part of the island's trust area. And as part of agriculture, we have the ability to provide farmer housing is one of the sort of acceptable uses on ag land. And something that we have on Pender is we have 5 bedrooms and up to 10 guests on agritourism as a what do they call it? A permitted secondary use around agriculture. So because we have an operating farm, we can have up to 10 agritourism guests at a time with 5 bedrooms. The house that we're in right now has 3 very large bedrooms, well, 2 sort of normal sized bedrooms and 1 that we're calling the bunkhouse, where we actually can have multiple people staying there. We also on Pender have the 100 square foot non-permitted structure. So anything that we build under 100 square feet doesn't require separate permitting. And so our plan has been to build 5 or 6 cabins under the 100 square foot, which would then be guest houses for probably actually for farmers, and using the house bedrooms for guests, or some combination of the two. So we basically, the plan that we have fits within our zoning. So we don't require any special permits for what we're doing. We also have a very close friend of the project who is the North Island trustee, and with also supportive connections of former South Island trustees. And our North Island trustee partner is not only a trustee, she's also very savvy about policy and intergovernmental relations, navigating that kind of stuff. So one of the possibilities that we're thinking about, but it's down the line and what we're doing now is not dependent on it at all, would be to get a community services rezoning, where in essence, it works like a, what do you call that? A CUD, is that it? Anyhow, it basically would allow us to write our own zoning for this property as a community asset. And since it's intended to be a community-owned resource, it would fit with the requirements. So that's sort of future tense kind of stuff. But the plan that we have, the operational plan that we have, conforms to the available zoning. So we don't need any special permitting. Any other questions around here? Yeah, Robert. Oh, you're muted, Robert.
The more I listen, the more questions.
Yeah. I'm
hearing a cross section of activities, which I'm sure are well engaged with leaky margins. However, I'm also hearing the need for resources for each of them to some degree, human resources, financial resources. And so you have this $2 million nut you're trying to crack, million plus, and you have that relates to a small cohort of people being able to secure a parcel of land, 47 acres and a house. And I'm also hearing about Cascadia and your work with them, which may be perhaps on that land, but also with other land. And then I'm also hearing about Lifeboat Academy, which maybe is the handle for all of this, but it also sounds like Lifeboat Academy is not something that is only located where this land is, but is an effort to promote the concept broadly and engage others, each of which requires lots of time, lots of effort to have success. And I began to feel like, well, maybe there's a bunch more of you, but how much are you spread thin by these challenges? And I guess that's the overarching question. And if I'm misreading it, then I apologize.
No, and in fact, I think your reading is really good, really, really good. I think you're picking up on how things are working. And yes, we are spread thin at the moment, especially the people on screen right now, I would call our core team, save one. We have one other person who lives in Sechelt who is also a really active member of what we're doing. In addition, though, we have developed our stewardship council, our interim stewardship council, where we have probably over a dozen people who are committed to the project and are providing support in one way or another. The other thing, too, is in the email that we sent out just last night, we are partnering with Foodlands Co-op of BC, Coho BC. So Foodlands Co-op of BC has been in existence for quite a long time, is a healthy organization with an active group of people who are working together. Their mission is to basically to hold agricultural land in trust. And so what we are doing is a model that they are really supportive of. And so we're getting a lot of technical support and a lot of relational support from Foodlands. We're also working with Coho BC, which is Co-Housing BC, which is a dedicated real estate firm that is all about shared property ownership and helping people to make deals around shared property ownership. So we're getting a lot of technical support on the real estate side from them. We're also, because we're partnering with Earth Regenerators and Cascadia. Cascadia is the most recent partner to come on board in terms of, we're still working out those relationships. But Cascadia actually represents a really healthy volunteer pool. One of their challenges right now is that they have more people in projects than they have the sort of structure to support. So they are rich in volunteers and in activity. And then Earth Regenerators is providing a lot of global connections and connections with, in fact, there is funding available potentially coming through Earth Regenerators because of connections they've already made. So we are spread thin right now. That's part of, the uphill ball of, being a small group of people trying to engage a larger group of people. But I think that the other thing too to say is that Roland and I have been working on a we've been developing this idea for almost 10 years now, working on 4 separate farms. This is our 4th farm. On all but one of them, so on 3 of the 4 farms, we had a very active volunteer engagement component where we were bringing a lot of people in to figure out, first of all, what aspects people are most interested in and how do we work well together. So there's been a lot of reality testing for the models that we've developed. And I think that's the other thing. The way we think about this property is it's the first campus of the Lifeboat Academy network. And it is meant to be a demonstration project that is sort of like the Cadillac version of what a lifeboat might look like. And it's not only is it a demonstration, but it's also a place that people can come and do collaborative learning, peer-to-peer learning. So it's meant to be the kind of place that people come to, are inspired by, connect with others, and then go back and start to implement some of these things in their home communities. So there is a both and where we're trying to figure out how we support other physical places, but this place becomes a sort of a test, it's a research center and a knowledge sharing place. So yeah, we are a bit thin in terms of what we're trying to do. But that's also why our main focus is about engagement and bringing more people in and figuring out practical ways of harnessing enthusiasm and putting it to work. So with that, I'm going to also turn to my team, who are probably feeling like the answer is yes, we're overcommitted. And but so Ronnie, Roland, or Jen, do you have anything that you want to add? Ronnie.
Yeah, the way that we work using sociocracy and circle process and the onboarding system we've developed works really well in terms of bringing people on to fairly quickly start engaging with what we're doing, whether it's the farm work, you know, the animals in the gardens and the daily chores, but also the relational work we're doing, the outreach and talking through challenges. And just to use Jen as an example, who's our current intern, she has been here in this stage of her internship for less than a week, and she's already taking on chores and doing a lot of deep support around the relational stuff and outreach. And she's also connecting us to potential investors and really so there are a lot of ways for folks to get involved, and we really try to make it as easy as possible for that to happen. And I think that it works. I think that it works really well. And I think it's a good model for other folks to use. So I just wanted to add that.
Roland and or Jen, anything to add?
The next. Robert, yes, there are many parts to the project. I think that this is an update for the Lifeboat Academy, which is the umbrella under which the purchase of the Spalding Valley Farm property is under. And that our focus right now is on the Spalding Valley Farm. And ultimately, we are highly iterative in our approach. So this is in part experimental on working out ways to be able to buy property so that it can be returned to the commons. And I may be repeating some stuff, but it feels appropriate. And iterative also in the sense that if whatever happens with this experiment, we have learned, and we will continue to refine the experiment. And we want it to be available as a way for others to also be able to to have access to property. In my mind, it's to liberate property from private property kind of thinking into commons kind of thinking. And the Lifeboat Academy, its intention is to be a way of being able to, I don't have the words right now. It's bring together different people, organizations, places that want to do the same thing, are in the process of doing the same thing, or have done something similar.
Mm-hmm. Ardell.
Thanks for letting me chime in so often. I had emailed in this idea, but just for the benefit of others to try to briefly reiterate. It sounds like this kind of project is ideal for crowdfunding, and at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of some of the people that are most idealistic, most passionate about this kind of thing, our resources are already stretched thin because we're trying to do so much,
Mm-hmm.
so little.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the ways that I had come up with to propose for organizations in a similar situation that is a idea of offering a contract, and this is sometimes done even with Kickstarter, or for example, you'll say, donate, like if it's just $5 and that's it. But then for larger donations, you get something in return. And the thing that could be maybe received in return that would be of value to people is to say, look, you have sort of a timeshare here. You get to come and be here for a course, or for a vacation, or for, I think the most valuable thing that is in alignment with your goals and your mission is an emergency stay. Like if there's some kind of natural disaster and you find yourself without a functional home, then this is somewhere that you can come and you can, pitch your tent and be part of a work community that survives together. Mm-hmm. And I think that might have a wider appeal than most people would consider, because, mm-hmm. Even on the counterculture right, there's like, I'm kind of thinking that we kind of are situated, probably the majority of us, probably situate ourselves on the countercultural left. But I think there's a huge potential to collaborate with counterculture right and say, come and participate with this. And please, mm-hmm. let's talk about the guns issue. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot that we have in common that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they might be allies in this.
Totally. Well, and we're a couple steps ahead of you.
Okay.
So,
okay.
It's actually one of the things here. One of the reasons why we center sociocracy is because it is a non-ideological standpoint, where we recognize there are 7 grounding principles for sociocracy, which are things like accountability, continuous improvement, empiricism. They're very non-controversial principles to agree to. Chief among them is equivalence, which is people who are affected by a decision should have some right to shape that decision. And there's a process involved where we can make those decisions together. And so the goal of the Lifeboat Academy is resilience and regeneration. It's not political, it's not left. Mm-hmm. It is, everyone is interested in resilience. Everyone should be interested in long-term sustainable health. And if you are, then we're willing to work with you. And in fact, our fundraising model is, roughly speaking, we're trying to sell 1,600 shares at $1,600 a share. Each share operates like a timeshare. So 2 shares basically get you 1 week a year coming to the property. And the goal is for the timeshare croppers, yes, the refugee part of it is very interesting, but more importantly, we want to focus on people who want to reestablish a relationship with the land and with the community. So it's people who want to learn how to work well together with others, even people that you disagree with. And so that's where, this is I for one have become increasingly anti-ideological. I don't care whether it's left, right, or center. I don't really care to talk about your ideology. I want to talk about on the ground, how do we make something work, right? How do we feed ourselves and make sure there's water and shelter and safety so yes, that's built in, and we have a multi-part strategy for how we reach out to well-resourced individuals. In particular, we're starting to talk about what does collapse-savvy investment look like for people who have financial resources, but realize that financial resources without access to food is not very useful. So we're figuring out how to have conversations with the people who are a little bit more well-heeled, and also to create opportunities for that kind of crowdfunding approach where it can be lots of little people, quote unquote, little people with limited resources, but we can pool those resources together. So, yep, we're talking we're reading from the same book. And so again, we're trying to keep this as tight as possible. One of the other things that we're doing right now is we're arranging for podcasts. We were looking to just be featured on other people's podcasts, which we're still open to talk about the project. But we have stumbled into an opportunity where we have a person who is volunteering to produce our podcast for us, with us. So we're going to be sort of the co-hosts of two parallel podcasts. One which is going to be following along the initial stages of starting a lifeboat. So the person we're working with, Andy Wildman of Tasmania, the Tasmanian Wildman, who is anyhow, I just think it's hysterical that Andy Wildman in Tasmania is one of our partners. And anyhow, he's going to be starting his lifeboat and kind of doing a podcast where we're coaching, we're providing coaching and reflection opportunities while he's starting his lifeboat. And then with Earth Regenerators, we're going to be featuring other projects that are doing similar things. And again, we're going to be in the position of, we get to look like the expert to bring in examples of other people who are doing similar kinds of work. And we're doing that primarily as a kind of a promotional outreach sort of thing, but also as a way of demonstrating our way of working, because it is unusual. Sociocracy and a more peer-to-peer way of working is not the norm for most people. And a lot of times it sounds confusing to talk about, but what we've found pretty consistently is when you give people an opportunity to work this way, the way I've heard it explained is we're not teaching anything, we're helping people remember something they've forgotten. And there's something natural and very comfortable, very human in this way of working. But until you have that experience, it feels unnormal, abnormal. But once people have the opportunity to sort of experience it directly, it feels very comfortable. So, and Jen comes to us with depth of podcasting experience. So the fact that Jen has sort of shown up at this time in our development seems a little bit like a blessing. So with that, I'm going to open it up to Roland, Ronnie, or Jen. Do you have anything you want to add? All right.
Acknowledging that things are going to be messy. Whenever you're building a new structure or building a house or any of those things, you have all the elements, but things are messy for a while. And to recognize that the breakdown of old ways that weren't working, we get to create the new. And this is part of regeneration and resilience and transformation. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of this. And so I'm glad that you're all here joining us too. And I'd love to hear any other questions, comments, feedback that anyone has.
Yeah, I don't want to jump in unless
Oh, go
someone else.
ahead. No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, couple of things. I'm familiar with sociocracy. It's interesting that the Land Workers Alliance, which is based in the UK, that I've had contact with, uses sociocracy in some of their languaging. And I think it's interesting for me to have climbed over the word lifeboat when I got the email, because there's, by definition, a desperation inherent in the word. And to me, it didn't sound like it was mutually joining with others as much as it was, let's take care of our own, and maybe we'll survive. And it sounded as if the messiness of the world, which I see in serious ways, is collapsing, maybe merits the use of the word. So I began to find myself in more openness to the concept. And as Jennifer said, it reminded me of what you said is what Joyce Carol Oates said 30 years ago. What may appear to be the breakdown of civilization may well be the breakup of old forms by life itself, which is a pretty neat principle to build on. The messiness is part of transformation.
Mhm.
So, but I don't know. I'd welcome your sharing anything you might want to, if you think it's useful, on the use of the word lifeboat.
Yeah. There's so much we can share on this, and I'm just trying to be mindful of time. And I'll say no. Here's what I think I can do a quick version. Here's what I'm going to propose: is we do a quick version, and then if there's time, we can continue to talk about it after we kind of get to the more open-ended part of the conversation. We are aware.
Vera has her hand up, so
yeah,
you know,
and I'll get right to Vera after you. I think the short form is we are aware that it is a word with some controversy behind it, and we actually enjoy that, because the process that we use, the first step is you invite people to talk about what does your lifeboat look like, and consistently people come back to this. My lifeboat is not exclusionary. My lifeboat is as big as it needs to be to save people. And it creates a really interesting opportunity to talk about some of those issues. Like, is there desperation? Is it exclusionary or inclusionary? And we have a really fantastic song that we found by one of our other partners, called the Lifeboat Song, and I think we'll send it to you as part of the wrap up from this, the follow up to this meeting.
I posted it in the chat. The YouTube to the song is in the chat.
Yeah, there we go. And anyhow, it's a really interesting conversation, and we celebrate the fact that it causes some concern, because it opens up that conversation in meaningful ways. So Vera, over to you.
Thank you. So I have a question. I guess I want to briefly. What do you do if you're unable to raise $2.5 million by the end of November?
We'll keep going. What we've been doing is we have been really clear in our process that the timeline is really short, and we may or may not be able to meet it for this property. There is some reason to believe if we can't hit the deadline, but we're close, that we'll have some wiggle room, that we might still be able to settle on this property. So right now, we recognize that the tight timeline, we actually have worked with a fundraising consultant, and he said timelines are good because they prompt people to say yes or no, in or out. And the ideas that we are talking about are independent of this particular property. The property that we're on right now is pretty much an ideal candidate for what we have in mind. So we're really hoping it works. But the commitments that we're getting from investors are for the concept, not for the property. So if we can't hit our timeline, then we start looking for another property. And it's that simple. And the way that we're gathering commitments, it's also a fundraising strategy, is that we're not having people write the check right now. We're having people say, I am committed to this concept, and I can commit this much money or this many shares to the concept. And I will be able to provide that money within X months of, a go decision. So we are 100% committed. This is going to happen. It may not happen here. So and oftentimes this is a life-saving thing for us to fall back on when it starts to feel like, oh my God, tomorrow's August already. What are we going to do? But, we just bring ourselves back to, the climate crisis isn't going to go away November 30th, right? So if we aren't able to secure this property, it just means we need to keep on keeping on and keep gathering those resources together and gathering until we find the property where we can make it happen.
Thank you.
All right, so we just have one last thing, which is our growing team, which is actually a fairly good segue. As has already been mentioned, Jen just found us and is working out an absolute treat. And as Ronnie mentioned, we have, from the very beginning, we've been thinking about how do we bring people in gracefully, and how do we also allow different strokes for different folks, figuring out that different people have different kinds of ways that they can be helping and making commitments. And so we have really, I'm actually, I think one of the things I'm most proud about is our onboarding process and materials. And we have it designed in such a way, and also our outreach. There is, we are looking for people that we are calling fair share sponsors or social investors. Those are people with means who, what their main contribution is they want to make financial resources available to make the project happen. And they're making space available for other people. They're basically providing access to the project for other people. We're looking for time sharecroppers who want who have some financial resources and want to make a longer commitment to changing their relationship with the land and the project. We have lots of opportunities for people to roll their sleeves up. We have, using sociocracy, we have guilds that represent different functional areas. So if you want to just get involved with how to work with the animals, you can join the Animal Guild. If you want to just get involved with how to do events, you can join our Hospitality Guild. And so wherever your interest is, wherever your skills and passions are, there's a way to get you matched up in that. From people that are willing to invest big bucks to people that are willing to roll up their sleeves and get to work. And the team has been growing, and the sort of the segue to how you can help is we are more than happy to think about or talk to you about ways that you might be able to get involved. And one of those, the easiest ways, is just to spread the word, to think about other people who you know in your networks who might be interested in investing, who might be interested in, if they're, relatively local or mobile, who might be looking for an opportunity like this where they want to become a fellow farmer. We're also, basically Roland, me, and Ronnie are what we call farmer caretakers. We are 100% invested to being on the property and making it happen. And we're looking for 3 other people who would be in the same boat. And then we also have space for interns and guild members and investors of different stripes. So there's lots of ways to help. And I think at that, I'm going to turn over to the rest of the team, Roland, Ronnie, or Jen. Anything you want to add?
I think just thank you for being interested, and thank you for being here. And this will be made available for other people who are interested. So whoever you are out there, whenever you watch this, thanks for being interested.
I just wanted to add a note about our third investor type, which is the social mortgage holder. So instead of going the route of doing any traditional financing, where we're essentially paying a bank for being a bank interest, we're looking for folks who have access to substantial resources, who might be willing to hold a mortgage for us. And instead of paying interest in the form of money, they would accept interest in the form of the social benefits of the project. So the benefits to community, sequestering carbon, healing and regenerating the land and the soil, and a lot of other things that we will be demonstrating. So I wanted to add that we're really trying to walk our talk in terms of transforming the ways that we work economically, the ways that we relate to money and in the wider world in that way. And I just wanted to reiterate, thank you everyone so much for being here. It's really, really, really helpful, and it means a lot.
Jennifer, you have something to say?
Just a testimonial to the onboarding process, that it's a really solid onboarding process. So if anyone's wanting to take part and they're unsure of their skills, abilities, or how to contribute, that you'll be well provided and all the steps of the way. There's a lot of support and resources available to you, and the process works. It really works. And we'll, in the sake of transparency, we'll continue having these weekly updates and open to, any direct messages or comments, or so keep coming back, because there'll be further updates and more opportunities to ask your questions. Especially, I know, when this meeting ends, you'll probably think of 5 more that you wish you could have asked or wanted to ask. So we'll be offering this every week. I have the opportunity to do that.
Fantastic. And we have a really easy contact. Our email is friends@lifeboat.academy. Which is also our website is lifeboat.academy. We're not a .com, we are a .academy. And so friends@lifeboat.academy it's your one-stop shop. So you can ask a question, you can set up a time to chat with any of us to explore different possibilities. And likewise, we have a landing page at lifeboat.academy that will in the very near future become a full-fledged website, but right now provides people with all the information that they need at the high level, including links to sort of more details or how to get in touch with us. And I also wanted to mention, in terms of the social mortgage holders, that we are going to be filing as a B Corp, which is a legal structure in BC. That means that the social benefits that we commit to, carbon sequestration, food sovereignty, reconciliation, resilience and regenerative skill building, community organizing, those actually have, because they are part of our articles of incorporation, they have the same legal standing, the same legal, our organization has a legal commitment to providing those benefits, not just creating a profit. Roland, over to you.
Just a small detail about any questions that you might have once this session is over. You can send it to us by email, and then that question will be answered in the next live update. So it helps to inform what you and other people are interested in and want to know. And you can either attend the next update or watch the video again, and your question will likely be there, unless it's something that is prominently on the documentation that we already have available, and then we'll probably send that to you as the answer.
Yeah, we're also developing a help desk so that these frequently asked questions will be available on the help desk. So whatever documentation we have, hopefully will be easily accessed. And if there's a remaining question, then it works like a help desk and it just kicks you right to one of our live agents, which is the 3 of us. So, or 4 of us now. So I think that's basically it. I think that we covered most of the next steps, which is there are lots of ways that you can get involved. We will be continuing email, outgoing email that will include lots of different ways that you can get involved. And we have all of the channels, the communication channels coming in. So if you have any questions, suggestions, requests, those can all be handled. Is there anything else? And Ronnie typed in a whole bunch of the different ways that you can get involved, or the communication channels. So you have those available as well. So is there anything else that we need to cover over to my team? And then I'll turn back to, are there any last questions? Anything else to cover, Roland?
I just wanted to specifically mention part of the what we will be sending out this week and next week are shareable graphics for the different ways folks can get involved. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for folks who want to support the project to share out to your networks, specifically the kinds of involvement we're looking for. And the graphics just do a very brief, what's in it for you, what's in it for us, what are we offering? So just keep an eye out for that if you want to be sort of an ambassador for the project.
Awesome. Not seeing any wild hand raising. So any other questions or comments from Robert, Vera, or is Ardell still here? Oh yeah, good. Okay. I didn't see you on my screen for a second. So anyhow, any last comments, questions, etc.?
I
Vera?
wish you well. And thank you for dreaming in the ways that you are. Thank you for feeling into the place where you are and seeing what it's calling for. And sounds like you're speaking in wonderful dialogue to each other and reaching out to do the same with others. And I think that's what the world needs. So I'm glad I was able to learn a little bit about it.
Thank you for that. Vera, did you have something?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for this time. It's good to reconnect. I'm happy to share graphics, and I did want to just mention that it's helpful if they're for me to share graphics where people aren't wearing masks, because those are the communities I'm more connected with, is folks who prefer not to mask. And so having photos in which people are masked would be a trigger. So if there's any choice in the graphics, perhaps it could be find some photos where y'all are together and not masked. And then I would be happy to share those with my networks.
Cool, thank you. Ardell, you have anything you'd like to add, or are we good?
Well, those 2 organizations I shared in the chat, I'm sure you have heard of those, and I just feel like they've got an established network of like-minded people that I hope that you have some people on your team that would be able to like set up a profile that if you haven't already, that because I think that it might be an untapped way to reach out to a lot of people that would be potentially on board.
I just feel compelled to say we describe ourselves as not an intentional community, but a community of intentional people.
Sure. But whatever, but it's going to be, yeah. And even if you don't, but your project will resonate with those people and
oh yeah.
People looking for through that website.
Yeah. no, that's no, definitely we know the affinity, and it's just is one of those. It's a personal quirk of mine because I don't think you can make intentional community. I think that community has to grow sort of spontaneously, but the seeds, you plant the seeds and tend them. So anyhow, this is just quibble. This is pointless quibbling. Great. Well, I think we're a little bit past time, and this is our first go at it. And so, time is not real. And at the same time, I want to be respectful of that other people have schedules and things to move on to. And so I think that's it, unless just one last go. Any last thoughts for the good of the cause? Raise your hand or just blurt it out.
Go team.
Go team. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you again. I will piggyback on all of the thank yous. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions and your interest. And we'll maintain the connections. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it all goes. So keep the faith, and we'll talk to you soon.